Welcome to our duck dive. Today we're unpacking the really tragic Air India Flight 171 incident. It's an event it's sent shockwaves through aviation. We're talking about June 12th, 2025. A Boeing 7878 Dreamliner, registration VTANB. It crashed literally seconds after taking off from Ahmedabad. It was heading to London Gatwick.
Yeah, and what's really striking is just how immediate the crisis was. The pilots radioed Mayday, reporting no thrust, and this was at an incredibly low altitude,
How low are we talking?
barely 100 to 190 meters,
Mhm.
maybe 600 feet or so. And this was just 30 seconds after the wheels left the runway.
30 seconds. That's almost unimaginable.
It really is an immediate critical failure right at the start of the flight.
And in those 30 seconds, the plane lost altitude, crashed into a medical college hostel, BJ Medical College, I believe.
That's right, in the Magadi Nagar area,
Yeah.
which is, a very densely populated part of Ahmedabad.
And the impact, it wasn't just the crash itself, right? There was a huge fire.
A massive fire, yes.
Yeah.
It tragically spread to nearby buildings as well, just adding to the devastation.
Let's talk about the human cost, because it's just staggering. On the plane itself.
Awful. 242 people on board. That was 230 passengers, 12 crew members. Out of those 242, tragically 241 lost their lives.
Just one survivor.
One survivor, a British national who apparently managed to jump from an emergency exit. An incredible but obviously isolated story of survival amidst the horror.
And then there's the ground casualties. That's often overlooked in plane crashes.
Absolutely. Over 39 fatalities reported on the ground, in the hostel, and the surrounding area, plus more than 60 injured. It really underscores, the risks associated with airports being so close to dense urban development.
Which brings us to the big question, how? How does something like this happen so fast? The investigation must be looking at that initial Mayday call very closely.
Definitely. That no-thrust report from the pilots is, it's the primary lead right now. It points directly towards suspected engine or thrust failure.
And I read the aircraft had recently been refurbished. Could that be connected?
That's certainly something investigators are looking at very carefully. It raises questions, was there some kind of engineering issue missed during the refurbishment? Or maybe something introduced, it adds a layer of complexity.
So it's not necessarily common for a major fault to show up right after maintenance like that?
Generally, no. Refurbishments involve extensive checks. So was it a pre-existing defect that wasn't caught? An error during the work? Or something totally unrelated? That's what they need to figure out. The black boxes are key here.
The flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, have they been recovered?
Yes, thankfully. Both recovered, and they've been sent to the NTSB in the U.S. for analysis.
The National Transportation Safety Board, why the U.S.?
They have some of the world's leading facilities for this kind of analysis. The British AAIB is also involved.
All right, the Air Accidents Investigation Branch. Because it was flying to the UK?
Exactly. And given the extensive fire damage, pooling international expertise makes sense. So, preliminary thoughts are circling around a possible aerodynamic stall, maybe an electrical fault, or that engine malfunction we talked about. Boeing, GE, and Indian authorities are all working together on this.
It's a major collaborative effort, then.
Absolutely has to be.
Now, connecting this to the bigger picture, this is significant for Boeing, isn't it? The 787 Dreamliner.
Highly significant. This is the Dreamliner's first fatal accident, and its first hull loss, too.
Hull loss meaning the aircraft is basically destroyed beyond repair?
Precisely. While the 787 has had a good safety record overall, this event inevitably brings intense scrutiny. We saw Boeing stock drop pretty immediately, about 5 to 7%.
Wow. And that affects more than just Boeing.
Oh, yeah. You see ripple effects. Other airline stocks, airport operator shares, too. It shows how interconnected the whole industry is and how sensitive it is to safety perceptions.
And it also puts a spotlight back on India's aviation sector, right? Especially the point you made earlier about urban development near airports.
Exactly. It highlights that tension. Rapid infrastructure growth, which India is seeing a lot of, versus making sure regulations and safety enforcement, especially around urban planning near flight paths, keep pace. It's a challenge globally, but this incident is a stark reminder.
So what's the official response been like? Air India is owned by Tata now?
Yes, Tata owned. They acted quickly. Established something called the AI 171 Trust. They've pledged compensation 1 crore per deceased person, which is around 116,000 US dollars, and full medical coverage for the injured.
And the government.
India's civil aviation minister promised a fair and thorough investigation, leaving no stone unturned.
Standard assurances, but necessary ones.
Right. And the DGCA, India's aviation regulator, they've mandated fleet checks.
On which aircraft?
All the wide-body Boeings in Indian fleets. So the 787s and the 777s, that's obviously causing some flight disruptions, some delays, but safety has to come first in this situation.
Understandable. So the next big step is really waiting for that black box analysis from the NTSB lab.
That's critical. It's painstaking work, could take weeks, maybe months. They analyze every single second of data and audio. This multinational collaboration is vital to get the clearest possible picture of what went wrong.
So for you, the listener, what does this all mean right now?
Well, the investigation is ongoing. We're waiting for that crucial black box data. But already it's forcing a hard look at aviation safety practices, urban planning near airports, and of course, Boeing's own oversight.
And it really raises a fundamental question, doesn't it? What are the lasting lessons here? For global aviation safety, sure, but particularly about managing that difficult balance between city growth and airport operations safely.
And perhaps a final thought to leave you with. Beyond the immediate investigation, what broader shifts in how we approach air travel safety, and maybe even how we design our cities, might ultimately come from understanding every single detail of this truly devastating event.